The time has come. The moment is at hand.
You are not prepared.
The Burning Crusade is one of the best and most amazing expansions of all time. There's no denying it. And whether you're already playing Classic Anniversary or looking to rejoin Classic for TBC, then take this video as a sign and start getting ready. In today's video, we're going to look at exactly how you can be prepared so that when TBC rolls around, you can go into Outland and shout out to Illidan, "I am prepared!" But before we start, I just have one massive favor to ask. You see, over the last month, only around 10% of you watching my videos are subscribed to the channel. To put that into perspective, that's over 150,000 views from people who are not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, then please consider clicking the subscribe button, especially if you're hyped for TBC. It would mean the world to me, and in return, I'll keep delivering the great content that you love. Thank you so much. The first and most important thing to think about is what you are going to play in TBC. To analyze this, I want to bring up the current player base class distribution. This is across both the EU and NA, but should give you an average idea. So we have Warrior the highest at 19.2%, Mage second at 16.8%, Rogue third at 12.6%, Priest fourth at 12.3%, Hunter is fifth at 10.9%, Warlock is sixth and makes up 8.6%, Shaman is seventh and makes up 7.2%, Paladin is at number 8 with 6.2%, and then finally Druid is at the bottom at 6.1%. Now these are based off of the passes, so these are for people currently raiding in Classic WoW Anniversary. Now I've been debating how we can compare this to TBC as there are a lot of variables, so I have asked AI to come up with the most optimal 25-man setups for raiding, making sure that we cover all essential buffs, debuffs and highest DPS possible, and then covering that into classic representation percentages, and here's what it come up with. So firstly, we're going to compare warriors. Currently, warriors are 19.2% of the total passes, and in TBC, we're expecting around 12%. And what that means is generally, warriors are still needed, but not as stacked as classic, so you can expect a decrease in demand of 7%. And basically what that means is there's going to be 36% too many warriors against raid spots. So bear that in mind. Next, we look at Paladins. Paladins demand is going to increase by 10%. This is because Paladin tanks become decent, Ret is viable, and Holy is still good, each of them bringing something to the table. But you also have to bear in mind at the moment, Hordes can't be Paladin. But even still, you can expect a very high demand for Paladins on both factions. So comparing right now's numbers, as a Paladin, you're definitely getting a raid spot. Next, we're going to talk about Druids. Druids get good in TBC, and generally Feral is very wanted because it's a good option to off-tank since it can do good DPS when not tanking and doesn't rely too heavily on gear. Resto becomes really good in TBC, especially for PvP, and basically the demand is going to increase by almost double, so there's going to be tons and tons of spots available. So if you are a Druid, you're in a good spot right now. Next, it's Priests. Priests are good in TBC because Shadow is a viable option and brings so much utility, often nicknamed as the mana battery, and so far it looks like there's an exact number of priests available for raid spots, so getting a raid spot should be fine. For Shamans, similar to Paladins, Shamans aren't available to the Alliance, so the number of Shamans available will increase, but generally there is going to be a high demand for Shamans because you'll need at least 4 per raid due to Bloodlust or Heroism, but even if they change Bloodlust to raid wide, Shaman healers are still one of the best in TBC, so there will still be a higher demand. Now looking at Hunters, of course Hunters get super strong in TBC early on due to pet scaling. BM is very strong. Currently there's a decent amount of Hunters playing, but you can expect a small 1% increase on demand based on the current numbers, so there'll be more spots available than Hunters. So if you've chosen to go Hunter, you're in a good spot. Next, to talk about Warlocks, they are also very strong in TBC, especially early on. They're quite boring to play, to be honest, but they're very strong in phase 1 regardless. Looking at the current numbers, there will be a 4% increase in demand, so plenty of raid spots available, but yeah, that's based on current numbers. On to Mages. This is an awkward one because obviously I'm a mage main, I'm a mage channel, and I love mages. The more of you that play mage is better for me because it's more views, But at the current level of numbers, there's simply going to be too many mages available per raid spot. So if you pug a lot, being a mage is a very, very risky move. You'll obviously still take one for the buffs, but generally warlocks are better. That said, I expect a lot of these mages will re-roll to lock in TBC, so the numbers could even out a bit. And then finally, we're going to talk about rogues. This is a sad expansion for rogues because generally you only take one rogue per raid, if at all. They don't do the best DPS, and there's currently 3 times too many rogues than predicted raid spots, so bear this in mind. Now what I will say is, for what they lack in PvE, they make up for tenfolds in PvP. They're an absolute beast in PvP, easily the strongest PvP class throughout the expansion, so there's always that. If you have a loyal guild, then you should be fine. If you're a social or pug player, I'd be very, very, very wary about playing a rogue. So that's all the classes and my rundown on raid spots, but obviously don't forget this is assuming that everyone takes their main into TBC. The top 3 most played classes right now in Classic are the biggest 3 losers in TBC. I'd imagine a bunch of people re-rolling, especially when each faction needs shamans or paladins. Let's just hope that the current warrior and rogue mains decide to do that and go to shaman. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing: playing what you really enjoy. Not every guild is going to run a super optimal sweaty comp, and if you have a good loyal guild, they will support you regardless of what you choose to play. So in summary, there's a real clear choice of what to play here. And that's mage, you can't go wrong. LOL. The next thing to talk about is gold. Now I did a video on this recently, but generally for each character you want to play in TBC, I'd recommend that you start grinding gold right now. You'll need to grind around 20,000 gold for each character you want to play, and farming that right now is going to be so much more efficient. There's obviously tons of ways that you can farm gold, but my latest gold making series will show you everything A to Z of gold making and how you can make thousands of gold easily in preparation, as well as all the guides into TBC as well. So if you're interested, check it out. It's on the playlist on my channel. Another thing to think about is what professions do you plan to take into TBC? Because of the rush and inflation, it's a very good idea to buy all the materials you need now rather than later. For example, if you plan to do jewel crafting, it's worth buying all the mining materials you need right now. This will save you tons of money, because the second pre-patch rolls around, these prices will skyrocket. Like for mage, obviously tailoring and engineering is amazing, but for classic, do we want to play arcane and switch it to alchemy for the alchemist stone? Doing the prep right now is the way to go and will save you tons of gold in the long run. And also professionals. Obviously professionals like tailoring, for example, for the cloths. In TBC you need to be level 60 to reach the maximum profession level. So any profession alts you have right now at level 35, you'll need to level them up to 60. If you do this, then obviously you're going to save a ton of money, especially if you're going for the cloth sets in phase 1. It's worth leveling them all up and doing it right now. Another thing to do is start looking at the best items in Classic that you can use in TBC. For example, this includes the AQ ring and the Nax cloak for mages. These are acceptable best in slot for phase 1, but other items you should think about is for the inevitable TBC dungeon farm. Ideally, you want very strong set bonuses and good spirit MP5, since the spell power isn't great for AoE. So for mage, we get much better value out of MP5 and spirit, and having a strong set bonus like the Neverwind 5 set is very, very good into TBC. You also want to think about if you want to solo the slave pens as well, because this becomes very, very easy if you have spirit and MP5 gear. But it's not just for mage though. Whatever you plan to play, the same will apply for your class as well. Closer to the time, I'll bring out a guide for every single class so you'll know what to do, but just something to think about right now. Try to have a TBC hype mentality. These servers are TBC waiting rooms no matter how you want to think about it. So for every item that drops in a raid, think about whether you would actually use this kind of item for leveling or dungeons, because the more planning you do right now, faster you'll get to 70 in TBC. So don't just blindly pass on loot. Another thing to talk about is pre-questing and whether you plan to do it. If you don't know what pre-questing is, it's basically having a bunch of completed quests that you hand in on TBC launch to get instant XP. A proper pre-questing route gets you to over 61 in under an hour, and if you want to do it, then it's worth investing your time over the next few months so you can get the experience on launch. The main thing to think about here is items that you can actually hand in for a quest. For example, Onyxia's head and Nefarian's head, if they don't give you very good items, still roll on them and keep hold of them so that you can hand them in for experience on TBC launch. Not only does it give you experience, but it also guarantees you a world buff. World buffs in TBC last until you're level 63, so you could also save the Nefarian's head and go hand it in yourself. For example, at launch, you might have all of the world buffs. After 2 hours, they expire, but you can quickly go back and hand it in for another one. But yeah, there are tons of pre-questing strategies you can do. I'll post that closer to the time, but it's also worth thinking about now so you don't accidentally hand in quests that you might use later. But yeah, in summary, these are the main things that you should be doing right now in the TBC waiting room servers. Pick a main that you want to play, get the best gear possible to increase speed, think about TBC previous items from Classic, grind 20,000 gold, get your profession sorted, and then start pre-questing. If you like this video, then please consider becoming a member to my channel. Memberships are available for $1.99 a month, and there's loads of TBC content coming out, including all the best guides and how to get tons of gold in preparation. My main focus this year is on TBC, and when TBC comes, we're going to sweat it out. So if you love TBC, consider becoming a member. All members are truly appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this video, guys, and have a lovely day.